Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I have for you a lot of updates, tips and tricks, advice, answers to commonly asked questions and so on. I'm going to talk about the Atlas progression, tips and tricks, how to progress your Atlas faster. I'm going to talk about the character progression for the Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder, because a lot of people are asking questions, how to upgrade the character, how to progress it. So I'm going to mention that as well. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the new crafting system, which is absolutely crazy. You can craft such insanely good items with it. It's like cheating. Then I'm going to talk about some Archnemesis stuff. There are some really cool recipes that people found that are basically the best thing to go for, and that's going to be it. So let's start with the Atlas progression. My Atlas is currently sitting at 112 out of 117, so I'm missing only 5 maps, including like unique maps. I think I'm missing like 4 unique maps and 1 regular map, and I'm gonna get them very soon when I just get some extra Kirak mission and use the rerolls for them. The rerolls are very, very useful. Kirak works similarly to Zana, so what you want to do is make sure that you run all of the maps that you are currently you don't have completed. So if you look at your maps, you will see the completion. If the map is not completed, you will see on the Atlas what you need to do to complete it to get the bonus. And then just complete all of those maps. Once you have that done, then you start getting them from Kirak, right? So what you do is you check his shop, you make sure you press Alt and you hover over this and just quickly look if there's anything that is not complete, right? If there is something red, not completed, then you pick that up, you run that map, and then you run his mission. So when you open his mission, you can also check maps in his mission to see if they have something that is not completed, especially if they're like unique maps. That's very, very useful to do. And then once you activate his mission, just like for Zana, his shop is gonna reset. So when you enable his mission, you can do it. You don't even have to actually complete the mission because he's gonna refresh the shop right away. So you open the shop right away and it's gonna have new maps here. So you just check here for something that is not completed. And of course, if you use these rerolls, I think you can even buy them for really cheap. They cost like 4 alchemy orbs. I don't know. You just find them in maps. I just find them. You can do this to reroll and getting some uncompleted maps. You can do this to reroll and get some corrupted maps. That's especially useful if you need the bonus objectives for the red maps, which need to be corrupted. And you can also get one that gives you unique maps that are more likely. Definitely make sure that you invest some points into the Atlas progression nodes. The essences and stuff like that will help you get some currency, even though not that much, because essences are super cheap, and I'm glad I did not go for them. But the nodes for map progression are especially really, really good. The duplication maps are really, really good, so don't feel bad about like traveling across the tree for something, because the travel part where you're actually getting like the duplication for the maps is very, very nice, because you're just gonna be getting more and more maps. Currently, people were asking also like, what's your later plan for the passive skill tree? So here's what I have right now on it. I have strong boxes and strong box secret operations. This gives me some extra scarabs. I have this node for extra scarabs and chance to not consume scarabs. These nodes are not that great, by the way. Like, these nodes are not excellent, but this is what I have right now, and it's like giving me a little bit of help. These nodes for the synthesis maps, they don't drop that many synthesis maps. I dropped like 1 or 2 synthesis maps, but when I run them, the node that gives you monsters and synthesis maps have 2% chance to drop synthesized items. That's actually big money. That's actually giving you some extra bases. I dropped like a thicket bow with synthesized attack speed on it. I dropped some extra other stuff, so you're gonna make some chaos out of that if you are going to be running the synthesized maps. For sure you need those if you're running those maps. Then I have stuff for heists. I picked up basically virtually all of the heist stuff except for like this node, which doesn't really matter. And then I have like boss rarity stacking, because I'm gonna be running a strategy where after I get my last 2 watchstones, or void stones rather, I'm gonna be running a city square or some other map with like multiple bosses that will actually give me extra bonuses for like extra drops from these, right? Because this enriched entities, chance to duplicate map bosses, works on stuff like City Square, for example. So instead of 3 bosses, you get 6 bosses in there and stuff like that, right? So these are very nice. I picked up the entire quantity wheel with this quantity and rarity in the middle. And then I think that's pretty much, and the Harbies, right? And the Harbingers. Harbingers are okay. They're not that great, but I've made like a few Exalted Orbs out of them. I made a bunch of Ancient Orbs. I have tons of Horizons and Harbinger Orbs. How much are Harby Orbs right now? They're like 2 chaos. If you sell them in bulk, they're maybe like 3 chaos. So this is like 15 chaos. Just some extra currency that adds up. Annuls that are very, very useful for like crafting flasks, for example, because you get like a enduring prefix and then you just annul. You hit the suffix 50-50 and then just craft whatever you need on it from the beasts, right? But that's basically the Atlas progression. It's super simple. If you have any questions about the Atlas progression, let me know in the comments below. But if you're using kind of a similar Atlas tree to what I had, basically prioritizing like shaping the valleys, shaping the seas, stuff like that, all of the shaping stuff, you're gonna have such an easy time. You won't be needing to be buying any Atlas maps. You're just gonna be getting everything from drops and then fill in a little bit from Kirak, and that's it. Now let's talk about the build. So the build is currently doing very well. People have been asking like, how do I progress? How do I get into the high investment version? Do I just straight up buy the items, or do I gradually progress? Like progress gradually, just like with any other build, right? So figure out what's your next upgrade and go for that. For example, one of the good upgrades to go for, once you're just have like items with rares and life and spell suppression, the next thing to go for would be probably like Circle of Nostalgia ring and maybe like an amulet that has either +1 to all chaos skill gems or dex skill gems, or maybe chaos damage over time multiplier. You want to get your amulet decent quite early. It's like a general rule for your builds, because you want to have ability to anoint it and not feel like you're wasting the currency on these oils, right? So I anointed the aggressive bastion here, which gives me endurance charges while mapping, 30% increased damage and 5% chance to block. It's a very good, very efficient node that will cost you a couple of chaos, and it's very easy to get. So I got like a +1 amulet. That was one of my first upgrades. Then I upgraded the flask. So you want to make sure that you get at least level, I think 82 it is. Check out on POE it will tell you like which item level you need for the flask. I think it's like 82 for T1 saturated, and then you want to just roll saturated on it. Then you can annul the suffix if you have something on that, and beast craft the immunity to bleeding. Immunity to bleeding, immunity to ignite, or ability to remove them is very, very important on this build, because dots are the biggest killer of this character. So you want to make sure that you're able to remove bleed and ignite and maybe poison. Another good thing to get on flasks is a reduced effect of curses on you. So if you look at these two, I have basically like 98% reduced effect of curses on me while I have my flasks active, and I have my flasks active most of the time. So this is something really nice to run. It's like a pseudo curse immunity that you can pretty much maintain while mapping all the time. The next thing to go for would be just getting a little bit better items. So just make sure that you get items with more life, res, spell suppression. So this is something super, super easy to craft. I'm gonna tell you now how to craft these items. It's extremely easy because essences are super cheap and these influence currencies are super cheap. So basically what you wanna do, I'll show you how I crafted this chest, for example, right? So to craft this chest, I basically got a 6-link Zodiac leather, because Zodiac leather has the highest evasion base, right? So I got this 6-link Zodiac leather, and then what I did, I grabbed some essences. I think I grabbed like deafening essences of wrath, because I needed lightning res and then whatever else I get on that, right? So I needed lightning res, and then I wanted to hit some other res, like a decent roll, and then decent roll of spell suppression, right? So I spammed these essences until I hit that. Once you hit like 3 good suffixes, right? So you hit this resistance, then you hit some other resistance, and then you hit the spell suppression, like a decent roll of that. Then all you have to do is just prefixes, and prefixes can be easily manipulated, or suffixes, but this is the way to do it with this chest if you use these influence items. So if you look at these influence currencies, the Chaos, the Annul, and the Exalted Orb, they're pretty cheap. They're like 1 to 5 chaos each. Maybe you can pay like, yeah, something like 5 chaos for each of those currencies. They're super, super cheap for what they do. So this says if the Searing Exarch is dominant, then it will do something to a prefix. And if the Eater of Worlds is dominant, then it will do something to the suffix. So the Searing Exarch is the red. the Eater of Worlds is the blue. The easy way to remember that is the first thing is on the left, so that's red is the prefix, and then the second thing is the blue, that's the suffix, right? That's easy to remember. So then you put one red thing on your thing. You put the lesser red orb on your armor, and now you only have the red one, right? That means it's Searing Exarch dominant. It's red dominant. If you have already something blue on it, make sure you put something stronger red on it, right? You can reroll it with the weaker ones, I think, as well, to lower the influence. So you want to make sure that you have the highest influence coming from the red one if you want to reroll the prefixes. Once you have that, so here you can see, for example, I have a lesser Eater of Worlds implicit and Grand Searing Exarch implicit, right? This means that if I use these currencies, I will be modifying the prefixes. So what you're doing is you can chaos if you have like just bad rolls all over the place, and it will likely remove a bunch of them because it's more likely to just have one or two prefixes when you do that. And then you can simply annul and exalt. You can also use the bench to block some mods. So let's say you wanted to hit the hybrid life, which is what happened to me, right? I rolled essences and I rolled a T2 life roll on it as well. So I had two empty prefixes. What I did is I crafted the evasion, and then there are very few things that I can hit on the prefix. One of them is the evasion and life hybrid. So I did the exalt. These cost like 6 chaos right now. So I did the eldritch exalt on this, and that gave me the hybrid life and evasion. And that's a perfectly good chest to get started with and clear your atlas, right? It's a very, very nice chest. So you can do the same thing with your boots, with your gloves, with your helmet. For the boots, you can do the same thing for the gloves and the helmet. You can just roll spell suppression and res very, very easily. You can get chaos res if you want. It's so easy to craft these items, and then you just do prefixes, right? And then you're gonna usually have like a crafted prefix. So on the helmet, actually, you want a crafted suffix. So maybe you do it the other way around, because the suffix you need is the increased duration of ailments. That's another thing that I recommend upgrading very early in your poison concoction build. It's very, very massive. And that's how you craft the items. Other things that I upgraded in the character were cluster jewels. Cluster jewels are the highest source of damage you can get. So make sure you get like the 30% increased chaos damage rolls. And then you also get some circling oblivion, flow of life. Those are really good. Let's get this trade. We're selling our old 6-link. And then I also upgraded my Stygian. So I basically crafted that with just essence for the strength. I hit some life and res, and I was happy with that. Crafted res on it, and then put chaos damage to attack, accuracy, and max life. Chaos damage to attacks, accuracy, and life are very good mods to get. Accuracy especially, because this is something that you really want to make sure that you're getting 100% off. So you can see here, main hand chance to hit 100%. You want to make sure that you hit 100% of the time to basically poison 100% of the time, stack more poisons, and so on. That's basically it when it comes to the upgrades. So we went over the Atlas, character upgrades, crafting. Now let's go over the Archnemesis. So Archnemesis is actually very powerful, but you want to be very selective with the recipes that you're doing. You can see here how organized I have this space, because this UI is like so bare minimum. I wish they did it in a better way where you can actually stack these or something, or like have them in one place, but it doesn't really matter. The main thing is you want to make sure that you're picking up a very specific org. What do you even call them? Archnemesis mods. Let's call them mods. Okay. You want to make sure that you're picking up specific mods, and you don't use them for anything other than the most powerful recipe, which includes the Treant Hordes. Treant Horde is the most absolutely broken recipe for these. Treant Horde basically makes it so that all of your rewards will propagate to these little monsters around the main rare guy, right? Which means you're basically multiplying your rewards like crazy. So what you want to do is you want to be using the mirror image with it, which will make all of these rewards reroll and give you the better result, and also gives you scarabs, which are very, very easy and are going to be pretty cheap because of this strategy. And then you also want to make sure you're using the currency ones, right? So let me show you first what the actual recipes are, right? So the recipe for the Treant combo, I don't know who discovered that, if it was Grim. I saw it from Grim doing it, and then there are also other people who are doing slightly different combos, but this is the one that Grim showed is actually really, really good. So I definitely recommend doing exactly that combo, which is the mirror image. So you want to grab the Echoist and Soul Conduit. Soul Conduit is this one, and then you want to grab the Echoist, which is like a currency one, I think, and then you use those two. They need to be next to each other, right? Use those two in the map, and then in that map you can do another recipe, or just ignore that, or just do some shitty ones on top just to get these rewards 2 more times. But the important thing is get Soul Conduit with Echoist, and that will give you mirror image, right? So that's the first one that you want. That's like the most important one, because it gets you started with all of these scarabs. And then the second one is the Treant Horde. So that one requires 3 things. It requires Toxic, Sentinel, and Steel Infused. So you can see I have Toxic, I have Steel Infused, and then Sentinel is the rarest one, right? So you definitely want to be on a lookout for that and not use it in anything else. Those will give you the Treant Horde. So that's the second one. Then you got Assassin. Assassin requires Deadeye, which drops very often, and then Vampiric, which is super, super crucial. Vampiric is gold. Never use Vampiric for anything else. Vampiric with Deadeye will give you the Assassin, right? So that's the one that gives you that's the one that gives you extra currencies, which is 2 currencies, which means you're gonna be shitting out the currencies. And then the last one is a Rejuvenator, which requires a Vampiric as well, and the Gargantuan, right? Which is the currency. So those 4. That's the strongest recipe. You're gonna be dropping tons of scarabs. You're gonna be dropping tons of currencies. It's just gonna be an amazing loot explosion, but you need to do them all together. So mirror image, then second you put the Treant Horde, then third you put the Assassin, and then last you put the Rejuvenator. And that is gonna give you a massive loot explosion. I'm gonna make sure to also link, either I can maybe link Grimro's spreadsheet that he has, or actually his video maybe, that you can check this out, or I'll make some kind of a cheat sheet that I'll put in the description as well, that you can see that. Another recipe that I also would go for is the Juggernaut Arcane Buffer, and then which one was the third one? Let's see. Juggernaut Arcane Buffer Hexer. That will give you heist and expedition rewards, which is pretty decent, and you'll be able to get them and propagate them with some other ones, right? Because simply they're not used in anything else, and then the Harby ones are pretty decent rewards. So that's another recipe that you can be doing just on the side as well, right? I'd definitely recommend organizing it a little bit and not even picking up the other ones. I will be updating my loot filter later today to make sure that I highlight all of these recipes together so that you can see which ones they go for, right? And also once you do them one time, it will actually say on it, so you can see used in Treant Horde, used in Soul Eater, used in Rejuvenating, so you can see all of that, right? So this is what I recommend to be doing with this. Also, thank you so much for all the Patreon supporters, everybody using the loot filters. I'm gonna be updating the mapping loot filter to include this as soon as I'm able to figure out how to do them, but it's gonna be later today, because on Filterblade they're also gonna be adding the option to sort by that, so you can be on a lookout for the new filter soon, which is gonna include this, and it's gonna make it so much easier, because you're gonna be basically not picking up the shitty ones. You really want to skip the hasted ones and the ones that you don't use at all. You just want to be skipping them, because it's a pretty much waste of time of doing them. They give you very little in terms of rewards, especially when you compare it to this. This is what you want to be focusing on. These main 4 recipes are what you want to be doing. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye bye.